Are you ready to master flames with Burnice White from the Sons of Caledon? In this guide, I'll be breaking down everything you need to know about maximizing Burnice's potential from her scorching abilities to team comps and optimal builds. Welcome into the channel, everybody. My name is Hako and I'm super glad to have you. So let's begin. So Burnice is an S-rank fire anomaly DPS from the Sons of Caledon. So you know, the same faction as Caesar, Lucy, Piper, Lighter, and you know, the Boar faction, the Biker faction. One of my favorite factions, and I keep hearing that I kind of look like I come from them, so I'm making that into my lore. So she specializes in applying the scorched effect, off-field damage, and sustaining high levels of fire damage through the heat mechanic. And she's kind of unique. I'd say that she's like, you know, the first really off-field character we have. The closest thing we do have in the game currently is probably Lucy and Rena. But Burnice is unique in the way that she does so much of her stuff, like, you know, off-field. And she excels in applying damage over time and anomaly effect through off-field skills, making her flexible in various team composition that requires sustained DPS. Now, you need to understand a couple of things about Burnice, and it's her core mechanics, it's heat and nitro fuel cocktail. So nitro fuel is, you know, her kind of home-brewed alcohol, her home-brewed drinks that she pours into people and pours into engines. So Burnice's heat is the key mechanic that drives her abilities. She builds heat by using skills, gaining 1.4 heat per point of energy used. So one of the things that the Zenless team does really freaking well is that, like, the playstyle of the character kind of mimics the lore of the character. Ellen feels like playing a shark. Burnice feels like playing a busty engine. So you expend energy and the heat builds up, you know, just like an engine. And this is now important. Upon reaching 50 heat, which is half of the meter, and you can see the heat just underneath the HP bar. So upon reaching 50 heat, Burnice enters the nitro fuel cocktail state, allowing her to apply the scorched effect to enemies with every attack. This effect synergizes with other anomaly agents and causes further fire damage when triggered by teammates. So imagine that the enemies, they get a burn wound on them. Like, they get burned bad by Burnice. And when her teammates, you know, comes and smacks the blisters, come and smacks the burn wounds, they take continuous fire damage. And what's really unique is that this fire damage tick, it actually builds up a very decent amount of fire buildup, which means, like, without even being on the field, she will build up fire anomaly. And this is massive. And that is called the afterburn effect. Burnice's signature dot ability is the afterburn effect, which triggers automatically when scorched enemies are hit by allies. Consuming 8 heat to deal fire damage based on Burnice's attack, it can be triggered every 1.5 seconds. And important to note here is that not every enemy has its own cooldown on this effect. Instead, the cooldown of 1.5 seconds is tied to Burnice. So even if you have 5 enemies that are all suffering from the scorched effect, and you hit all of them, only one of them will take damage because it can only trigger once every 1.5 seconds, no matter how many enemies you hit. And every tick costs 8 heat. And if you run out of heat completely, you will exit the nitro fuel state. So making sure that your Burnice kind of stays in the nitro fuel state is going to be of quite a big importance if you want to maximize her damage. And when it comes to Burnice's skills, some of them are of more importance than others. Her core skill is very freaking important. This is where you find her scorch effect, this is where you find the afterburn damage, and so on. This is very important. If we click down here on upgrade suggestions, we see that they recommend EX special attack and core skill, which is something I would definitely agree with. And now Burnice needs to be teamed up with either someone from the Sons of Caledon or another anomaly agent. And if she's, when Burnice basic attack, mixed flame, EX special attack, intense heat, stirring method, or EX special attack, intense heat, stirring method, double shot hits an enemy, or when the afterburn effect is triggered, so when you hit an enemy that's suffering from scorched, the move's accumulated fire anomaly build-up rate is increased by 65%. And when any squad member applies the burn effect to an enemy, the duration of that effect is extended by 3 seconds. So this one is very, very freaking good. I would say do not run her unless you have this one active. And the core passive is Nitro-Fuel Cocktail, as we talked about earlier. You gain heat by spending energy. And remember, 1 point of energy equals 1.4 points of heat. And when you reach 50 heat, you will enter into the Nitro-Fuel Cocktail state. And while in the Nitro-Fuel Cocktail state, when Burnice hits an enemy with a basic attack, mixed flame blend, EX special attack, chain attack, or ultimate, she applies the scorch effect to the target until she exits the Nitro-Fuel Cocktail state. And remember, she exits the Nitro-Fuel Cocktail state when she runs completely out of energy, so try to make sure that that doesn't happen. When other squad members hits enemies under the scorch status, it triggers the afterburn effect, expanding 8 heat to deal fire damage equal to 350% of Burnice's attacks and accumulate fire anomaly buildup. This effect can trigger once every 1.5 seconds, and remember, this is tied to Burnice. For every 10 anomaly proficiency, afterburn damage increased by 1% up to a maximum of 30%. And now we don't need to be a math genius to realize, okay, the cap to maximize this is 300 anomaly proficiency. So that's what we're gonna be trying to aim for. Damage from the afterburn effect is considered assist attack damage. Now for her basic attack string, direct flame blend isn't, you know, something to write home about really. But her basic attack mixed flame blend is an attack that I quite like to use. But if you hold the attack button, Burnice will kind of crouch down a little bit and dash to the closest enemy and start spinning around with her flamethrowers. This is quite a good AoE ability, and I find myself using it a lot. One thing to note though, that if you activate this, it does cost 20 energy, but it also does apply the Scorch debuff to the enemies. So if you have the energy to spare, if you have the heat to spare, I would use it. Her dodge attack isn't really anything special. Once again, not anything really to write home about. The assist attack is a little bit, you know, dependent on which team you are running. Are you running, you know, very much a switch-in team, then this increases a little bit in priority. But for the most part, you can kind of ignore this one. Her most important one, apart from her core skill, is her EX special attack. And here you have special attack intense heat aging method, which is if you use the attack without, you know, having enough energy, don't really do that. But EX special attack intense heat stirring method. Now, if you just press the EX special, when you have enough energy, you will kind of do almost what looks like a little bit of a shotgun blast of fire. It goes very quick, and just if you have UUN, you will be familiar with this playstyle. If you click it and then press in any direction, like back, front, left, right, you will reposition very quickly. So for example, if the enemies are very spread out, this might be a very good way of, like, you know, getting all of them. But what I found myself using the absolute most, was the most fun, but it's gonna depend a lot on the positioning, is the EX special attack intense heat stirring method double shot. In this, you will use both of your flamethrowers and you will shoot in a long line in front of you, and you will drench everything in that line in fire. Now this one is really freaking fun, and it is really, really freaking satisfactory to, you know, line them up and then just torch them. But this one requires a little bit more preparation, but this is what I like to do. This is also the fastest way you're gonna be expending your energy. So it comes down to playstyle, it comes down to preference. I like holding the attack, but you can also press it. So now let's talk about Burnice's ultimate Glorious Inferno. You remember how Burnice generates heat? Well, she expends energy, but she can also use her ultimate and recover 50 heat. So that's enough to get her into the Nitro-Fuel stage if she's out of it, or it's enough to top up, you know, half of her bar. And this is a really, really good ultimate, and it has a little bit of a twist to it. So Burnice will leap up into the air and then spray fire down on her enemies. This will also prompt a quick assist. And if you switch out, so like if you take the quick assist and switch out the character it prompts you to, she will actually ultimate for longer, and this is quite a big improvement. Like, she will stay up in the air continuously spraying fire for many more seconds if you do the quick assist. So always do the quick assist, there's never any benefit to, like, you know, not doing it. And if you are running Burnice without any Mindscapes and without her signature weapon, you are gonna want to be using her ultimate. Right now, only one person in the team can, like, use the ultimate. They have a shared disable. This will change in an upcoming patch. But right now, just for heat management, it's best to use it on her. If you have Mindscape 1 or if you have a signature engine, heat management becomes much less of an issue, and you can use it on whoever you want. Now, Burnice's chain attack is quite good, and it also applies the scorch effect if she's in the nitro fuel stage. This is quite a nice one. It has a good AoE, and you can also follow it up by pressing an EX special attack, and you will then follow up with intense heat stirring method double shot. And now let's talk about Burnice's Mindscapes. And I just want to point out, you don't need a single Mindscape to make Burnice work at all. You can run her perfectly fine with just, one copy of her. Although there are certain Mindscapes that will, make life a little bit easier, and her actually, most important one is the first one, Kindred Flames. And this one increases the limit of heat from 100 to 140. Upon entering the battlefield, Burnice accumulates an additional 40 heat. Increases the damage multiplier of the afterburn effect by 100% of Burnice's attack. Additionally, the accumulated fire anomaly buildup from the afterburn effect is increased by 25%. And the most important part here is that we get more heat to play with, and we also recover 40 heat, whenever we enter a battle. So this one, just in terms of keeping her in her nitro fueled state, is massive. And this was my intended stopping point. But on my last multi, I actually ended up with 2 Burnices. Full pulling video in the description if you want to see that. So our Cinema 2. When triggering the afterburn effect, thermal penetration is applied to the enemy, stacking up to 5 times and lasting 6 seconds. Repeated triggers reset the duration. When any allied units in the squad hits the enemy, the attack's pen ratio is increased by 4% for each stack of thermal penetration up to a max of 20%. Now this one is very, very good as well. This one kind of turns her into arena a bit. In the way that she can, kind of give pen ratio to the entire team. So this is not a bad one at all. I wouldn't have gone for it. But hey, I got super freaking lucky. So yay me. And 3 just leveled up, all the skills. Number 4, when an EX special attack or assist attack hits the enemy, the move's crit rate is increased by 30%. The max flame spray duration of EX special attack, intense heat stirring method, double shot is increased by 1 second. So you can spend 1 extra second, holding down the EX special and just shower your enemies with fire. It's not a bad one. It's not the craziest Mindscape 4 we've seen. Absolutely not. 5 just levels up like normal. And for number 6, when Burnice hits an enemy with EX special attack, intense heat, stirring method, double shot, it triggers an additional special afterburn effect. Dealing 60% of Burnice's attack as fire damage to the target, this effect can trigger once every 0.5 seconds and does not consume heat. After hitting an enemy with EX special attack, intense heat stirring method, double shot, while the move is active, EX special attack, intense heat stirring method, double shot, special afterburn effect, and burn effect will ignore 25% of the target's fire resistance. When EX special attack, intense heat stirring method, double shots fire blast hits an enemy, if that enemy is burned, trigger an additional instance of burn damage equal to 1800% of the original damage. This effect can trigger once every 20 seconds for each target. So, this one, obviously, as every M6 does, it skyrockets Burnice's damage and warrants her being on the field a little bit more. Obviously, we're talking M6, this is deep down in people's pockets. I wouldn't recommend anybody going for it. But among the M6s we have, it's not the worst one. I don't think it's the craziest one either, but it is not a bad one. It is not a bad one. But yeah, most important one out of these is number 1, but you don't need a single one to make her work. Alright, on to the next bit. Now, when it comes to Burnice's disc sets, she has a set specifically made for her, and it is the Chaos Jazz. 2-piece increases anomaly proficiency by 30, and the 4-piece fire damage and electric damage increases by 15%, while off-field EX special attack and assist attack damage increases by 20%. When switching on-field, this buff continues for 5 seconds, and this continuation effect can trigger once every 7.5 seconds. So this one was made with Burnice in mind, and she's basically the only character that can, use it to full extent. And the substat that we're going to be looking for is going to be anomaly proficiency, attack percentage, and for the first ever time an anomaly character actually wants crit rate and crit damage, since her afterburn effect can actually crit. So you can see the stats I've got on mine. They've been quite alright. And we want anomaly proficiency on disc 4. On disc 5 you either want attack percentage, fire damage bonus, or pen ratio. The calculations vary a little bit, but fire damage will do you the very best after that attack percentage. Attack percentage is the only kind of decent one I've gotten from the Chaos Jazz, that's why I'm still running it, but as soon as I get a fire damage bonus one, I'm switching out. But attack percentage is very, very good for Burnice, because if you remember, the afterburn effect actually scales off her attack percentage. On disc 6, I choose to go attack percentage. I find that she doesn't really need the anomaly mastery. So what anomaly mastery does is that it hurries up, or like it increases how fast burning will build up. And I find that she doesn't really need a help in that department. But I would say attack percentage or anomaly mastery, and it is a little bit up to you. I prefer attack percentage because it gets me, you know, higher hits. And for the 2-piece, she is a little bit flexible. I chose to run Hormone Punk once again to get the attack percentage. But you can definitely run the fire set Inferno Metal. And now this is the domain I've farmed, you know, kind of the very least. So I don't have any good piece. So like for me, it wouldn't be a bonus to put it here. But Inferno Metal 2-piece is gonna be the biggest increase to her damage, although it is very, very small. You can run Inferno Metal, you can run Freedom Blues, you can run Woodpecker Electro even, or you can run Swing Jazz, which might, you know, be very good to help you out if you are having trouble keeping her in the nitro-fueled cocktail state. So yeah, the 2-piece can be quite flexible. As for Burnice's engines, her signature one is gonna be, you know, best by quite a lot. It regenerates her energy while she's off field, making her having to, you know, or making you having to worry about her exiting her nitro fuel state, a worry of the past, because she will kind of regenerate as much energy as she expends. And this one is freaking good, and it gives you a whopping 70% extra attack damage. It gives you a normal proficiency. This one is just goated, although it's a very premium option. So what do we have available instead? If you've gotten the fusion compiler from, you know, losing a 50-50 on the stunner banner, the fusion compiler will do you fine. But when it comes to 4-star engines or A-rank engines, Weeping Gemini or Electro Lip Gloss will be your best ones, with a slight favor for Weeping Gemini, since it has attack percentage as a main stat. But if you have Electro Lip Gloss, it is not bad at all. It's a very, very freaking good one. And remember, in order to maximize Burnice as much as we can, we need her up to an anomaly proficiency above 300, which now I'm sitting at 305 on mine, and a whooping 3685 attack. She hits hot. Alright, let's talk about Burnice's teams. The absolute strongest team in the game currently actually does include Burnice. And it is Burnice, Caesar, and Jane. Now Caesar provides 1000 attack, even more with Mindscapes, to both Burnice and Jane. And this becomes a disorder team, and this works very, very freaking well. Jane is very selfish, and she wants a lot of field time, and that is Burnice's biggest strength. She requires about a second on the field, then she's done all she really needs, and she can leave the floor open to someone else. So she is very, very much an enabler of other characters. Like, she takes already broken characters and makes them even more broken. Jane just has a freaking field day with Burnice on the team. And with the upcoming release of Yanagi, I think this team is going to become the strongest in the game, with Jane though switched out for Yanagi. Some other teams you can be running is Burnice, Piper, and Lucy. Now this is a very free-to-play friendly available team. We get a Lucy on by just doing a little bit of the current event, the Cheesetopia event, and Piper both Piper and Luz has been rated up on several banners, so if you've been playing for a little while, this team is surely something you do have access to if you have a Burnice. And this, once again, is a disorder team, and it's, you know, a little bit more budget, but I still love it. It's full of Sons of Caledon, and once again, we run Red Mockus. Now, Red Mockus is, in my opinion, the best bangboy in the game. He will gather up far away enemies and kind of round them up and drive them to you, and then you can just slaughter them. And he's really freaking great. Another team that's gotten a massive freaking boost by having Burnice in the game is Grace. And for this, you would run a Bangbu, preferably Plugbu. Once again, Grace is very hungry when it comes to screen time. She wants, she wants a lot of playtime on her. Burnice works perfectly in this, and it creates a very devastating disorder team. Rena's pen ratio is applied to, you know, your entire team, so this team actually becomes really scary. It's by far Grace's best team currently. Burnice really shines in disorder teams. We want to, for the most part, be disordering with her. That is her strength. And for the simple fact that she is a off-field sub-DPS makes her, you know, available in a lot of different team comps. And it is also what's gonna, you know, future-proof her for the future as well, since she's not really a hyper carry, but she is made to, you know, enable other anomaly hyper carries in the future, and it looks like we're gonna be getting a lot of them. So I think Burnice's lasting potential looks very good. And now, at the end of all things, let's go over some general gameplay tips that I want you to use in order to really master Burnice. So, when you start a fight in most content in this game, they will start you off with kind of half a bar of energy. But Burnice gains a full bar of heat whenever she enters combat. So your knee-jerk reaction when entering combat might be to, you know, line every enemy up and do an EX special attack, but this will actually overcap you on heat. Now, there are certain instances where, you know, doing a special might be worth it, but for the most part, maybe holding down your basic attack button, so you go and do the flame spin instead and expend 20 energy, and then perhaps pivot into an EX special attack is a better management of your heat. Now, this is gonna become more or less important the more invested she is. Remember, she doesn't have as much of like a heat management problem if you have her W engine and her Mindscape 1. But yeah, try to not overcap on heat. Like if you have the energy and heat to spare, might as well do some fire pirouettes. Now remember, Burnice enters the nitro fuel cocktail stage once she reaches 50 energy. But if she, after entering it, would hit down to 0 energy, she will exit the nitro fuel stage. And this will be a significant loss in your overall damage of the teams. Do not allow that to happen. And the way we do not allow this to happen is by keeping a close watch on Burnice's energy at all times. Remember that no matter which character you're currently controlling, you can always see Burnice's heat level underneath her HP bar. And if you notice that it's about to run out, well, then it's time to switch into Burnice, expend some energy, or perhaps even do an ultimate. And she is an off-field sub-DPS, which means that Burnice comes in pretty quick and does her job. And her job is applying Scorched on enemies. Now, you apply the Scorched by holding down the basic attack buttons. You do your fire spin, that's one way. You do it with chain attacks, that's another way. You do it with your EX special attacks, third way. And you do it with your ultimate, the fourth way. If I forgot one way, please let me know in the comments. And while the enemies are affected by Burnice's burn, they are suffering under the Scorched effect, and after burn damage will occur. Now, this damage is very significant, and it builds up a lot of burn even while Burnice isn't on the field. Remember, Burnice's ultimate generates 50 heat. And a full unloading of her EX special attack, so you hold the EX special attack button and you continuously shoot fire. If you have, you know, the time and the energy to do that to completion, you will regenerate about 85% heat. So you want to be using this, like if you're struggling a little bit with the management, generally use this when you're around 15% heat left. Meanwhile, the ultimate can be used once you're below 50%. We do not want to overcap on heat. And as far as combos goes with Burnice, it isn't really, you know, too complicated, and everything is gonna, you know, be about how does the enemies look like? Like, are they 7 enemies spread out kind of widely? Then you're gonna have to do it one way. Positioning of yourself and positioning of the enemies is gonna be vital. So like running bang boost that can help reposition enemies to your advantage is gonna be a good thing, like Red Mockus or Resonabu, for example. But the general rule of thumb, if you know you're gonna overcap a little bit on the heat, well, you can hold down the attack button, do your fire spin, and after that follow up with an EX special to get that energy back and really burn the enemies down. All in all, Burnice is a pretty simple character to play. Just remember, what is her role? Her role is marking every enemy with Scorched, and then play into how do we do that the most effectively, and that is by keeping Burnice in the Nitro Fuel state. So yeah, that is gonna be my full comprehensive Burnice guide. Now this one take a lot of time to like put together. You constantly fret that you missed a thing or two, and if you feel like I missed to mention something, please let me know and let everybody know in the comments down below, and I hope you enjoyed it. Burnice is an absolutely fantastic character. I really do love the Sons of Caledon. And I can't wait to see what other agents in the future she will, make shine. So yeah, if you enjoy Zone Zero content, feel free to stick around the channel. The subscribe button is right down there. And these guys do take a lot of work to do. So if you would be so kind for a thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate that too. But until next time, friend, thank you so very much for watching, and Hako out.
A little flames, mocktails, exercise. The snacks are real nice. Soda's Salmix dry. I'm lit, you can't deny. Wherever you want, wherever you need. So good you never ever want to leave. Anything that you desire, set it on fire.